Bill King is with us. He is from Nashville Sports Radio, hosting 6 to 9 WNSR Monday through Friday, the king of college football talk. And we always appreciate your time, Bill, on these Tuesdays. What's going on these days for you?
Really enjoying a lot of college baseball. I watched a bunch of different games, varieties over the weekend, and enjoying it thoroughly again. And obviously on my show, college football runs the subject every day, so that's always round.
Yeah, we got this word about the ACC now settling the lawsuit with Florida State and Clemson. So, I mean, it feels to me like that maybe that means there'll be no more realignment amongst the Power Four. But then I do know that the playoff gets rejiggered for the next contract. The SEC and the Big Ten are kind of driving the train with that. So I don't know if maybe there'd be more realignment after the next contract is figured out for the playoff, or does this kind of settle things down for a while?
Very unclear, because we got news late yesterday that they had come to an agreement, which is, in essence, Cliff Notes, Florida State, Clemson, the teams that drive the highest ratings. And again, folks, it's always about football. They will be able to take advantage monetarily based on the average ratings over a 5-year period and make more money, speculating up to $15 million more per year. The negative is the teams on the bottom could lose money compared to what they're making right now. So it's kind of a sliding scale. But here's what makes the future of that league unclear. They have come out with clear numbers. I haven't really digested them yet, about the exit fee, which is a grant of rights and also an exit fee, not related to the other exit fee I was just talking about. And that number is a lot lower than the $500 billion that was in play. It's somewhere around $100 million. You guys may have it in front of you. I haven't looked at that yet. But it's a very escapable deal. And that number goes down every year till the end of that contract in 2036. That opens this up a bit.
Okay, so maybe a little piece, but we just don't know how long that lasts.
Yeah, and again, unclear. I don't think there's a direction. I don't think in the moment the two leagues they'd want to go to, the SEC and the Big Ten, are expanding. But we all need to remember this conversation is literally a minute-to-minute conversation. What if ESPN for the SEC gets hold of the SEC commissioner and says, I will fund this, I want them in the league, or I want one of the two in the league? Then they probably bring them, right? Same with the Big Ten. And again, just speculating, but what if Fox, which owns half of it anyways, or NBC or CBS or new partners, says, I will fund one of those teams? Then you've got a whole different conversation. As of right now, I don't think anything happened. But, guys, in 5 minutes, while we're talking, that could change.
Who's the is there any, I mean, is there one of these conferences going, is there anything that's good to be the third best conference? You know, is it the ACC or the Big 12? Because clearly you got the SEC and the Big 10 are 1 and 2 or 1A and 1B. Who is the third best conference right now in college football?
I think if we had a happiness measurement, it would be the Big 12 as a league. I think they're very happy with the makeup. I think they're very happy with their monetary agreement that they have per school, and I think they're very excited about the season they're having. I would say probably them in the 3 spot. And the top of that league in football is very debatable, like we talked about a year ago, and it's going to be the same way this year. And I think the ACC, there's acrimony, and I still think there's dysfunction. Now, it's good to have some finite details today. That is a positive, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're as happy. They're not as happy as the Big 12, but let's also remember, it's not any type of comparison to the Pac-12. The Pac-12 couldn't get a TV deal done. The ACC's got a deal for another 10 years. They at least have that finite approximate $35 million coming, fluctuating into the future, but they've got that for another 12 years.
I think it's interesting too with the ACC and how you remember when we had the ACC SEC basketball challenge, they're marketing the ACC as the best basketball league in college basketball, and they're not even close right now. Like the SEC's at the top, Big 12 would be maybe after them. So I feel like the ACC has completely lost. Like they've to my way of thinking, they've always been a basketball conference first and foremost, but they're not even really good at that right now.
No, they're not. And certainly with the, I would say, generational depth of the SEC in basketball. I've never seen it deep like this. I've followed the SEC in basketball since probably the mid-late 70s as a kid. And obviously they've expanded since then by, 6 schools, 2, 2, and 2 through the years. But nonetheless, there are some years, 10 years ago, where you had Kentucky and maybe a Florida at the moment, or maybe an Auburn, or whoever it might be, and that was it. The league was mediocre as heck, and it is deeper than ever.
Bill, we're getting ready for spring football, and Phil and I, we've been discussing a little bit of this. And Arkansas has 5 new receivers that are coming into the mix. We do have a receiver that just won the 60-meter track event at the last event. So, but I guess what I'm asking is, who are the top 3 or 4 receivers in the SEC this year?
I would say number 1 would probably be Ryan Williams at Alabama. I would have him certainly in there. After that, I think it's debatable. Probably the Wilson kid at Florida. Probably one of the LSU receivers. There's somebody I'm leaving out, but you got to remember, Georgia is way down at wide receiver. Now
didn't they get that kid from USC?
They did get him, but based on last year's return, they need this. This kid comes in and he is better. Zachariah Branch is better than anybody they had, and not even close. That should be an impact for them. And if I were ranking him, I'd probably have him in my top 3 or 4 too.
Yeah, I think I liked him at USC. What about Courtney Crutchfield, a kid that was at Arkansas, won a state basketball title, a great football player, all-state guy, goes to Missouri, doesn't play. Now he's coming back to Arkansas. What do you think we should expect from him?
I don't know, because I haven't seen enough of him. Is there any good film of him?
I hadn't seen him play either. I mean, I don't even know if he had 10 catches for Missouri.
Other than recruiting rankings, I don't know much about him as far as the tape.
Well, the guy that Matt was referring to, it's Jordan Anthony. He's the SEC 60-meter dash champion.
Right.
He came in with Petrino. He'd also played at Kentucky, and he is the leading returning receiver at Arkansas with 8 catches and I think a little over 100 yards. But to me, I don't know if it's a matter of just he's more straight line speed or he's having trouble catching the ball or what, because there's so much you got to learn the Bobby Petrino offense. It's all the verbiage and everything else that goes into being a receiver in that offense. Well, I don't think anybody knows it any better than he does. So I would hope it's a chance for him to break out. You
would hope so. One thing that I learned in the early 80s when I was at Tennessee, and Willie Galt was there, other track guys came out, and I'm not comparing this with the situation in Arkansas at all, but I'm just saying it was a lesson I learned many years ago. Track guys would come out, and, on the track, they timed well, but they weren't football players. So again, I'm not saying this is the case, but the assumption that just because somebody is fast makes him a good ball player is not necessarily the right assumption. You got to be a football player first.
Yeah, you got to be able to take a hit. I mean, I think that's got to be one big aspect of it too. Yeah, go ahead, Matt.
Is there a Todd Gurley at running back in the SEC? Is there somebody who's the best couple running backs that are coming back in the SEC?
That's a really good question. I like some of the young backs at Georgia. Now, that might not be the specific. Dylan Sampson is gone at Tennessee. ATN is gone at Georgia, but I like the younger guys.
Rocket Sanders, I think, is gone at South Carolina. Yeah.
Correct. Correct. LSU signed the top-ranked freshman running back. And I bring that up because that is by far the easiest transition to the college game, position-wise, and I assume we will see him. He's an in-state kid. I don't know if there is, and I haven't put a lot of time thinking about it, so it's fresh in my mind, but I don't know that there is a lead candidate at running back, at least right now heading into the season in the conference.
I want to ask you about Coach Prime in Colorado. I don't know if you've seen anything. I haven't seen much on them getting ready for spring ball, but they've had a lot of change. He's losing his boy, losing the Heisman Trophy winner. What should we expect out of Coach Prime in his third season after the first 2 years they got better? These last 2 years, do you think there's a little bit of a drop off now that there's been a little bit of a change going on there?
Has to be. Yeah, it has to be. I think year 3 will determine his fate. And not that at the moment he's in any peril, because they ended up having a very good season. But I just think year 3 will define where is he at without his kids. And they're transitioning. They've got a young quarterback, a true freshman, that is a Georgia kid who committed to Southern Cal for quite some time. They flipped him. He may be the starter now. He's a little bit different. He's maybe a 6-foot quarterback. A little bit different, but a guy that puts a lot of yardage on the stat sheet. He'll compete for it this spring as well. They don't really recruit well because he doesn't try. It's mainly a transfer portal type situation there. And I think year 3 is going to be very, very futuristic as far as where his head is in that program.
All right, so futuristic and a third year at Oklahoma for Brent Venables. And Jim Nagy is coming on as the general manager. And he used to be the director at the Senior Bowl. We've had him on the show before. I think this is a really interesting hire because my understanding of the general manager role for college football teams is it is going to be different place to place and maybe have a different title place to place. There isn't one of this, as far as I understand, a general manager at Arkansas yet. So, Nagy coming from a specific angle of scouting, coming from the Senior Bowl. What is your understanding of his role as a GM at Oklahoma?
Personnel, but not all-encompassing like the NFL. He'll have a lot of latitude. They have to have somebody with a lot of latitude because the current formula is not working. And Brent Venables, frankly, I don't think he's going to survive. I don't. Not by their brand standards. I think they're very mediocre. I don't really get excited about much. I think a couple of weeks ago we talked about the quarterback transferring in from Washington State. That might be a catalyst. He's a Dallas area kid who's a fast break basketball term type quarterback, speeded up kind of guy. Maybe that's the catalyst they need. But right now I am not at all confident in the immediate future of Oklahoma football.
All right, well, we'll see where that goes. Bill, we appreciate you hopping on. It's always fun having these conversations with you. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, guys.
Thanks, Bill.
BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting in 2025. Whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor, BetOnline is your ultimate game day companion. With the largest selection of odds on everything from NBA and college basketball to the NHL and UFC, BetOnline continues to be your number one sports betting source. From every three-pointer to hat trick, BetOnline has you covered with odds, stats, and more for every game, every play, and every win. BetOnline, the game starts here.